Recording. The red glowing button is on, bro.
We are live. We are live.
Dude, I cannot believe that. I mean, I think it would have happened at some point in my career, right? But
Oh, 100%.
I cannot believe that 45
Pardon me,
minutes.
When you first said it, like, pardon me, my insecurity was creeping in, and I was like, oh my God, I must be doing horrible. This guy's making up that he didn't record.
No,
It's like my dog ate my homework excuse. Yeah,
bro, to be honest, I watched that reaction when I realized, and it's just one of the funniest things because
I'm like in the middle of talking, and all of a sudden your face just goes blank, and I'm like, wow, I must be saying something really like off or offensive right now.
Well, I appreciate you coming back and doing it again, man.
Of course, man. I'm psyched.
I mean,
I'm psyched.
I'm very sorry, but I'm happy because it just means that this one's gonna be that much better, and because it's it's 2.0, bro.
Yeah, of course. We got the revised version.
So how you been?
For the truth, man.
How you been, man?
I'm good, man. I mean, making do with what I can, trying to stay positive. I think that's like the biggest thing that everybody has to do right now.
Yeah.
I try and take the things that like I'm lucky and have in my life right now and just focus on that. But it's hard times. A lot of people struggling. And
is it affecting you in any way specifically?
I mean, I think that it just put like a lot of the things that I enjoy in my life on hold. And I mean, those are very like non-essential things, but to me, they're essential. Like I don't get to do our comedy classes. I don't get to see my friends as much. I am not currently in the city anymore, and I really was enjoying that. That was like a great experience. And I was developing my like own independence. I'm 1 year out of college. So like it was the start to my adult life, and it just kind of was put on hold. But I have a lot to be grateful for, so I try not to focus on that stuff. And like I look at my brother, who is he'll be going into his junior year of college, and like there's question that he might not be returning to, campus in the fall. So I couldn't imagine what it would be like to go through that.
Right.
So I try and like have that center me and be, my focus for getting through it.
Yeah, of course, everybody is going through it in a different way, and I mean, like you said, one of the things that has affected me as well is the fact that we cannot take those improv classes where initially is where we met. And man, those were so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, I miss it. I was actually talking to Jonathan the other day from our class on Instagram. He DM'd me from my Mother's Day cooking, gave me some props on that. But yeah, we were just talking about like, we got to the end of the class and we didn't get to have the final show, and it's just such a bummer.
I know, and I feel like I was just getting in the groove, and it was just like I was jiving and I was having so much fun in the class, and then sadly, well, hopefully, maybe we'll have a redemption act at some point.
Hopefully.
I mean, I cross my fingers.
Maybe like we could, get some of us to connect and do like an open mic or something, one of the jams.
Yeah, at the very least. Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully once things start to get back on track, then the theater hopefully is back in business. And, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad because comedy is a big part of your life, and I think that
has become.
Yeah, and I think that with comedy and showbiz, especially with live comedy, it took a hit for somebody that's trying to grow it, for somebody that's trying to become a comedian. I don't know. What are you thinking? What are you thinking you want to do? What are the challenges that you want to overcome right now?
I mean, like, for me, with the spot that I was at, like, with my comedic career, and I put quotations around that because, like you said, like, I'm very much so in the beginning of it. I'm trying to figure it all out. Like, I think I'm lucky, I really don't have my foot in a door yet, and I have my bases covered. So I just have to get through this, and then I can kind of pick up again. But I'm trying to take in life as it comes, find new inspiration for new material, but it's undeniable that it sucks that
Mm.
I can't continue to, pursue the various avenues that I was pursuing before. But
I love the fact that we're jumping straight into and talking about
yeah,
comedy because that's what you love. But for somebody who doesn't know you, what's your name? What, just give us a little background, bro.
sure. My name's Matt Greenstein. I'm 23 years old. I have recently graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, from a small town in New Jersey. And I don't know, man, I'm just like a young guy trying to figure it out. I have this passion for entertaining. I have, aspirations for, either being in film or comedy in some respect. I've been dabbling in it for about the past, like, I'm coming up on 2 years, which is crazy, but I'm still very much so greenhorn and
Hmm.
have a lot to learn. But I'm just taking the world as it comes, and I I'm not there in my life yet where I have like hardened perspectives, but I'm just trying to shape it as I go through my days,
Shape it as
trying to
it
become an
comes.
adult.
Are you saying like you don't have a plan kind of thing, or are you like
I think
winging
like I
it?
don't have,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have a plan right now. I think that's a good way to look at it. I think I have goals and I want to achieve them, but I don't think I have like the set path
Okay.
in my life right now.
Mm.
And I think that's okay. At least that's what I tell myself to give myself reassurance that it's okay.
Right.
I'm still figuring it out. I'm very lucky that I have a great job right now, and it's afforded me the ability to pursue things outside of my professional life. So I'm grateful for that, but I still haven't hit that stride in my life yet. I'm at the very beginnings of adulthood, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But I try and set goals. That's the thing. I try and set goals, and I want to accomplish those goals. Things that I want to do, and I set a plan to like do those things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I find like my success in life, my self fulfillment right now.
Okay. Okay. So, what made you think of comedy? Why did you decided to pursue this kind of career?
Yeah, I mean, I again, like I don't want to call it a career yet. At this point, it's just like a passion and it's an interest of
Okay.
mine. I would love one day for it to be a career, but I just don't want any like haters out there to be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But
No, of course, of
um,
course.
I've
It's
I've
very humble.
always Thank you. I've always been really interested in entertaining and performance. I started in theater when I was really young, like third grade. I was in my high school's rendition of Les Mis. I was the understudy for Gavroche, which is like the kid character, and I was just in the chorus. And then from then on, I was in musical theater throughout my middle school and high school
Got you.
days. And I carried off and took some acting classes while I was in college and got to participate some stuff on campus. But I've always been really interested in it. And as I got a little older and I think about, entering like when Netflix kind of became popular, I started watching a lot of stand up comedy, and watching like all of the original like OG Netflix specials that were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like watched these men and women get on stage, tell jokes, and like perform like a one person show where they were the focal point. And I just always thought it was so cool.
Mm. You said you had an interest for theater since the beginning, right?
Yeah.
What sparked it?
I think that just being the oldest in my family, I kind of like started as a big center of attention. I always was on stage, like metaphorically, for my grandparents, my aunts,
I
my
see.
uncles. I'm the oldest in my entire family.
I see.
All my cousins and my brothers are younger than I am. So there always have been eyes on me, and I've always been like really comfortable with that. And as I started to mature a little bit and like enter the years of like, okay, like kids need to start finding activities that they want to do. My parents really encouraged me to try a bunch of things. And there was nothing that like I wanted to do that I wasn't allowed to do. But there were certain things that I had to do. Like I had to play team sports. I had to take piano lessons. And the piano lessons, because they wanted me to, be cultured, whatever. Piano lessons introduced me to this legendary woman who like holds a special place in my heart. And she, I took about like a year and a half with her. I was like in third grade,
Mm-hmm.
and she just kind of like made one comment one day, like, you have such an outgoing personality, you should try and audition for this show that I told you about. The high
Lemons.
school that year was putting on Les Mis. And I was like, all right, why not? Like, it sounds fun. My grandparents always took me to shows in the city. I
You were just
liked
a
it. I
kid
liked
and you were curious and you
I just
liked
was
it.
like a kid and curious. And
No.
like the second, like I'm getting chills thinking about it. The second my feet hit the stage, like that's so dramatic, but I can replay it for the audition. I didn't care what happened. I mean, deep down at the time, I wanted to be in the show really bad, but I just like knew that that felt comfortable for me. It felt
Mm,
comfortable performing. It felt like this was an expression, avenue of expression that just fit, you
got
know?
you.
And
Got
I
you.
think it's at a young age that was such like a powerful moment. I didn't, ultimately, I don't think musical theater is my avenue, but it just in general, the arts, the performing arts was such a, I felt it. I just felt that it
Okay.
was what was wanted for me. And, like through my experiences through that, I was always drawn to comedic roles. I naturally had like pretty good comedic timing. And I just like the feeling of making people laugh and
Mm-hmm.
making myself laugh. It's fun. It's just
Right.
fun for me to do it.
Yeah.
And I've just been drawn to it because of it.
For me,
Totally.
when I graduated college, I had this idea that like life was a serious thing. You know, you were supposed to be a serious guy, and if you wanted to get somewhere, you need to be serious about it. And in my mind, serious meant doing what the other generations wanted me
100%.
to do. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you need to become an architect. In my case, I followed a path that was architecture because that sounded really good and compelling at the time. And but I realized like later on in life that this aspect of just having fun that somehow in the process of growing from becoming a child to becoming an adult, we forgot how to really like have fun in our lives, right? I totally understand where you're coming from.
Right. And I think like I'm still at a point in my life where having fun and doing the things that I love, like I don't have any dependents. I'm try to be as financially responsible as I can, but like I'm not at a point where I don't want to say it matters as much because that sounds naive, but it doesn't. Like I'm not 40 years old with like two kids and I'm
Right.
like pursuing this pipe dream. Like this is the time that I should mess around and like try
Oh
something that
yeah.
I love.
Oh yeah. Yeah, guaranteed. I
So
mean, this is the
so
perfect time for you.
yeah, and that's why I'm just kind of like doing it. I'm just like trying to do it, and it's
How
been interesting.
how how's it been?
Yeah, I mean, like I think I was starting to pick up some pace like right when this coronavirus stuff started happening, which is a shame. But, I'm still thinking about it every day, so I have no question that I'll get back into it.
Right, right.
But I think like it's hard to tell for me. Like I'm still at such the early stage of someone who's trying to pursue this that I don't have any real measurement of success. Like one of my big goals was that there are some more serious clubs down in like the West Village
Mhm.
that have you have to sign up and you can get like a reoccurring spot in for like weird midweek open mic type situations, and I was in the process of like preparing a little set for that to hopefully do it. But I never obviously got to. And also simultaneously, like doing the UCB classes, I really found like tremendous joy doing that and
Oh my
felt like it
god.
helped
Yeah.
my stand up. And also, it was like a new avenue to do performance. So I was starting to do a lot of like the jams that they would have on like Wednesday nights. I think that's when it was. And oh no, our classes were Wednesdays, jams were Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think I was like trying to do as much as I can that was relatively in the sphere. So I don't have any like tokens of success to date, except for making some people laugh with some shitty jokes. But
I
only the
mean,
people in the room can remember that, and myself.
if I may say, you were one of the funniest guys in the class, and I mean
Thank you,
that's
man. I appreciate
part of
that.
the reason why you're here. But let's talk about improv for a second, because I think that when we were talking about just having fun, right? And to me, improv was just a game that you can pick up anywhere, anytime,
Anywhere.
with anybody, you know?
I truly like it sounds so culty to say this, like, oh God, this guy's been doing improv classes forever. But like improv is life. Like
Right,
our day-to-day life is an improv performance.
right.
And like what the actual performance aspect of it does, it just captures it in a moment and like magnifies it times 100. Like you're just like taking little things and pointing out the weird aspects of those little things and just making like a scene and joke about it.
So much fun. I used to come back home and just think about all the scenes that went down, and
Yeah.
and I would go, oh, I should have said this right now. That would have been so hilarious,
Yeah.
and I would start
So
laughing in
funny.
my bed, just like at 1 a.m. just by myself, just like
Yeah.
it's
Or I think about like different situations that like I could do with someone else. Like what could Gabo and I like make a joke about? Like it's
it was
so
so
funny.
awesome. It was so awesome.
And it
Um,
was cool that we all like got very connected for only having known each other for what, like 6 weeks. Once a week we meet.
yeah, it's weird because it funnels also a specific kind of person, right? It's not you. No, you don't need to qualify for it, to go to
Yes.
classes. So
But
anybody, yeah.
there are like specific characteristics that you need to have. Yeah, it's a really good point.
And the thing is also, if you can afford it, you can go. Nobody's gonna
Right.
discriminate you. Uh,
There's no barrier
and
to entry.
what I thought was interesting as well was the fact that a lot of us were in a completely different levels or states of minds. For example, like one of us was really really nervous on stage, like the other one was, people were actors. There were different kinds of
Right.
people. Some were really good actors, some were really good comedians. There was people
Yeah.
like me who didn't know what they're doing.
No, dude, I'm not even just saying this so that we're like, blowing each other's horns, but like I thought you were incredibly witty. You always had like great observations. Great observations. I
Thanks.
just would get up there and try and do like the craziest thing possible. Like that was
you
it
know
was like such a release.
I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine lately. Do you know that show?
I've watched a couple of
Okay.
episodes. Yeah.
And your mannerism reminds me of Andy Sandberg sometimes.
Really, I've gotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like the, like classic Jewy comedian type vibe a little bit. I play into that niche. I try to. I try to.
Gotcha,
I've gotten
gotcha.
Seth Rogen. I've gotten, Adam Sandler frequently.
Well, no, but
It's
I
yeah, it's
definitely
cool.
see the Andy Sandberg. Adam Sandler is Jewish? I didn't know he was Jewish.
Gabo, there's so many references.
What?
We're gonna cut that part
That's
out.
like that's like saying like you didn't know Santa Claus was part of Christmas. Like, come on. That's crazy.
Hey, bro.
Have you
I hear I
Eight
grew up
Crazy Nights?
with these movies. Huh?
Eight Crazy Nights? Never seen that
I've
show?
never seen Eight Crazy
That
Nights.
movie?
No,
That's a movie about Hanukkah. Come on, man. Put on your yarmulke. It's time for Hanukkah.
I'm not.
Bravo, come on.
But I love Adam Sandler, and I love
Yeah,
Andy Sandberg as well. Those two get me
yeah,
confused right now. I was just about to get them confused.
yeah.
But speaking of influences, like, do you have any particular idols that you want to be like?
Like in the comedy realm, not so much. I have like a lot of comedians that I enjoy to watch, but I really want to like kind of stay individual in that sense. I don't, I like, even though I joke about like playing into the Andy Samberg, like Adam Sandler, Jewish comedian type niche. Like I kind of want to carve a path that's my own.
Of course.
I
And
love both of them. I really like Judah Friedlander. I like Aziz Ansari. Um, Chris D'Elia just came out with a really, really good stand-up special on Netflix. But I'm just like a typical fan in that sense.
yeah.
But you know, like life idols, I'm really inspired by my dad a lot.
Oh,
He and I have a lot of differences in the way that we view the world, I think, but also a lot of similarities. And he just has taught me a lot about like what it means to be a man. And I always say that like he's my biggest inspiration and idol.
what does it mean? What does it mean to be a man?
I wish I had the answer, but I'm still figuring it out. I think that it's a hard thing. Like I don't have an answer to it. He's just exemplified the type of man that I want to be: compassionate for other people,
Mm.
caring for his family, and absolutely like the most ambition in himself and confidence in himself. And I really like respect that and try to emulate that. Even though like my dad is, well, I mean, he's gonna hate me when he hears this, but like, okay, now I'm making like such a double entendre joke. He has like a hearing loss, so he wears hearing aids. So like, not that that's necessarily correlated, but I think that's impacted the way that he's like not as into music as I am, not as into the arts, but he has been unbelievably supportive of me pursuing this, and my mom too. Like I have a separate place in my heart for her. My mama is like number one. But he you know, that was never really as much of an interest for him. He was very into sports, but he always just has encouraged me to like go about my life with whatever I do, doing it the best that I can and putting my best foot forward and setting goals and accomplishing those goals.
Got you. So he has given you a lot of drive to accomplish whatever you need to do.
Yeah, and I think it's been tough at times to have that relationship with my dad, especially being the oldest. A lot of what I experienced for the first time, both he and my mom experienced for the first time, you know?
Right, right, of
Like
course.
from like the parent perspective and from the kid perspective. So that's definitely caused a bunch of conflict, I think, in our relationship at times. But I think our love for each other and my respect for him and his growing respect for me becoming like a young man, that has like been paramount to any conflict or fight that we get into. But yeah, I mean, he pushed me hard as a kid.
Do you have any stories or anything that would kind
I
of
mean, like the one thing that we always joke about in my family is like me sitting at our dining room table. Do you remember when you're in like fourth grade and you have those sheets of multiplication problems?
Mm-hmm.
There's like 50 multiplication problems. I was always like, I really struggled with math, not because now I'm much better at math than I ever was, which is a good thing because I work in finance. So I hope like my boss doesn't get freaked out by that. But um, I always just never felt comfortable in math. Like it just freaked me out. I got like math anxiety, and my dad is an accountant. So like oil and water in that sense, or was an accountant like per in the first part of his career. So he sees math with the most clarity. Me, like math was like another language.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember sitting at our dining room table and like screaming at each other, me crying, like, I don't understand how to do these problems. And he would like go through the way that he would write it, like in the old school accounting way of like lining everything up. And I'm like 8 years old, like I can't figure out like what 2 times 5 is without like having to do it long way in my head. And I wound up doing well on the test. So like let that be indicative of he would push me.
It's for
I
one, I think yes, it's a good thing that your parents have been supportive, but also you yourself, it's not like you're a fuck up, you know. Like
I hope not. I
you
mean,
you know. I mean, you have a job and you have pursued
yeah.
your 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 professional side of life, and you do you have specific goals for that side of life, or do you wish that at some point you're gonna be able to leave that behind so that you can focus 100% on
I
comedy?
think it's I would be naive to answer that with like full confidence, I think. I think I haven't tried enough in the comedy realm yet
I
to like
understand, I
say
understand. But
confidently.
what's the
I
dream?
mean, but like the dream
Yeah.
would be like you're gonna see me in movies and you're gonna see me like with the Netflix special, and I'd be writing shows and I'd be on SNL and I'd be doing all those cool things, like the things that I just dream about and love.
And
And I
do you have time to do that right now? Or do you focus on
yeah,
that? Do you focus on that at in any
I've been
level?
I've been I think I've been struggling. What do you mean? What do you mean
Like,
by that?
do you focus on writing sketch comedies, or do you focus on your own work at any level, in the sense that you have to focus also on your professional side, on your professional life. Like, how
Yeah,
much
I mean,
can you actually
it's
focus on you?
it's been totally. It's been hard to. So I'm always like constantly like observing and calculating stuff for material and for my improv performances, like things that I can bring into that. I'm always like I'm a sponge in that sense, and I take in recent times the hyper increased amount of family interactions, which is where I find a lot of my humor. I've been taking all of that in as well. But actually, like putting together sets or putting together jokes, I've been struggling with that because it's hard when like you have these ideas, you put them together, and then you don't have like a means of, hello, kitty. You don't have a means of testing them and like putting them out,
Right.
which is for me like the biggest part of my process, I guess. And as far as my professional career goes, it's great that I have this level of security and the fact that I have a lot of friends who have lost their job during this pandemic and I have not. So I'm very, very fortunate for that. But it's hard to see where the growth is going to be when we're all working remotely and like I don't have as much opportunity to interact with people. But I try and stay driven with that. I try and stay focused again on the positive things, but those are definitely things that I think about and worry about.
Can't you? So let's go back to when you realized that you started wanting to do comedy. You said that you guys had a bet, but I want to hear more about that story again. So
Okay,
so
so
let's start from the beginning.
sure. So I was in a fraternity in college, which like I don't know why I just said that sentence because everybody's gonna judge me now forever as I'm sitting here with like a backwards hat. I'm like so not that guy, but I'm also so that guy. I like to think like I walk a fine line between the two.
Well, you were in
Uh,
football and you were in theater, and you did all
I'm like
these
Zac
different things.
Efron, dude. Like put me in High School Another, we're all in this together. Um, so my fraternity buddies and I, we did like a massive fantasy football league, and I was late to join the league because, admittedly, I played football. I love football; it's my favorite professional sports. But I was never into like getting super into stats and like following teams like to a crazy
That's a
level. That just
different,
was never
yeah,
my thing.
yeah,
It's a different type of person.
yeah,
I still appreciate the sport. I've gotten more into it and I see it as kind of like a social necessity, and especially in the professional world. Whatever, don't need to go on to that tangent. But my um we the second year I was in the league, which was my senior year, we decided, oh no, yeah, senior year, we decided that we we were coming up with like what the last place loser would have to do. So we had like obviously the first place person collected all the money from everybody paying into the league, and the last place loser had to do like some shameful things. So we were brainstorming ideas, and people were suggesting maybe we should like go out, get hammered on a Friday night, and then the loser has to wake up early and take like an SAT on Saturday morning.
that would
Someone
be
else was like,
fucking awful.
yeah, it'd be terrible, but stupid. Someone else was like, They have to like write something ridiculous on a sign and like walk down like the middle of campus or some shit
Okay.
like that. So I'm sitting here thinking like, all right, how can I turn this horrible thing into something positive for me? Because I had very little confidence in my ability to do well in league.
I see.
So I suggested, which to most people would be so frightening, so terrible. Why doesn't the loser have to do an open mic at a comedy club? Because we have a really famous comedy club in Madison called Comedy on State. Like a
Mm.
lot of famous comedians roll through and do performances there, and they have one of the best open mics I've ever gone to. So that's what we decided to do. People were super into it. One thing led to another. I lost the league and I had to do a set. So I put together like a little 3.5 minute set, signed up one day. They told me that I needed to bring people in order for me to get on. I wound up bringing like 30 people, like girls, guys. I mean, could not have been a better setup, which is like what you want for your first time doing an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
And I got up there, cracked a couple of jokes, and in the most humble way possible, I murdered it. I like had an amazing set. I made a ton of people laugh. The MC like made some joke slash diss, like there's no way this is his first time doing an open mic, and it was great. It was awesome. It just was like such a rush, and it was a reminder of that fun, exciting feeling that I got doing theater when I was younger, because I hadn't done performance like that in a long time.
And how have your performances? Have you had more performances since then, though, right?
Yeah, I did open mics at Comedy on State like a bunch more times after. There were some other mics in Madison, and I did. I've been doing, well, prior to all of this, when I was in the city, I was doing open mics at the Pit. They have an open mic pretty regularly, and what was it called? New York Comedy Club, which are like two clubs that are in my neighborhood. They're pretty. The
Yeah,
Pit,
yeah,
obviously, they're
they're pretty
rival
well
improv.
recognized.
So I was just like doing open mics there. I never
How
got like
how was that experience? I mean,
totally different.
because
Totally different.
if
I
I
mean,
could
first of all,
describe, yeah,
people in Wisconsin versus people in New York like could not be more polar
right.
opposite. Like if you shit the bed in stage in Wisconsin, everybody's like, "Oh, good job! You're gonna do you want a beer?" Like it's like whatever. It's like people are just nice. Like you could literally hear a pin drop, or people will make nasty comments if you do poorly at an open mic
In New York
in
City,
New York.
right?
Like MCs, I've done it before, and like an MC has completely shit on me after I bombed like horribly,
What
which
did he
I've done at
say?
this point way more than doing well. Just something like I don't know, like along the lines of like, all right, you got to work on your jokes a little bit, new guy, something like that. And like people laughed at that more than they laughed at me performing, so that was not a great.
Were you laughing at yourself, or was this like one of those things that just crushed you, like sentimentally?
Um, I don't think I ever feel crushed. The only thing that like crushes me about performing and like bombing per se is, there are times when you bomb like where people don't get the joke, but you can tell that it's funny. It's hard to explain without
Okay,
like actually doing it. Like they don't necessarily see it to the level that you're seeing it, which
of
just kind of means
course.
like you have to tweak it, but they kind of like chuckle because it's a funny observation. But then there are times that you think something like is really, really funny, and you can tell that it is you either botched it or it just did not work at all. And to me, it's not like the moment on stage, it's the after, like, why did I ever think that was a funny joke?
Mm,
Like, if someone doesn't find what I'm saying funny, that's what the hardest part is for me,
mm.
which I mean, I kind of have to go through. I feel like in my process of trying to do this, there's a lot more failure than success in the beginning, at least.
I just I just thought of something. It's weird how comedy, it's like a very unique kind of art in the sense that I could paint a painting just for me, and for me it may be beautiful. but if a joke is just funny to me and not funny to other people, is it funny? you know?
Right. Seriously.
Like what's
Seriously. And
comedy then, you know?
there are some comedians that sit in that moment. Like I think Dave Chappelle is kind of like a comedian like this, where it doesn't matter, but your presence on stage, and this is something that like I want to work on too. It doesn't matter what you say,
Right.
being on stage is funny.
Mm.
That like
Yeah.
you are entertaining. So in that sense, it's kind of like walking the fine line. But then there's someone like Jerry Seinfeld who says your material is paramount to anything.
Mm.
It is the material that carries the comedian.
I
So yeah,
actually
it's an interesting moment. It's an interesting moment. There's less room for interpretation than other art.
and I actually heard well, I actually read an interview with from Howard Stern and Jerry Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Seinfeld is kind of a brainiac. He's
He's
constantly
so brilliant.
thinking about jokes. Constantly, he says it's almost a curse. Like he
Yeah,
characterizes as like as a curse. He says like I gotta think of jokes all the time. I can't live in the moment. You know, like that kind of
yeah.
situation.
It's a superpower for sure. It's
And,
like the same thing. Like, doesn't Superman feel like his, or am I so off in that? Doesn't Superman sometimes feel like his gift and powers are like sometimes a curse as well?
well, I would say yeah. I would say every hero story has a moment where the hero realizes that perhaps you know he's not
I'd
as
be better
blessed.
off.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not as blessed as he thought he was. You know. So it doesn't. So we were talking about you being on stage and how it affects you sentimentally. So it doesn't affect you at all sentimentally. You're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, what affects me is like the idea that I'm not coming up with good ideas. Like
Mm.
I don't care. Like I'll make a goof of myself in front of cancel culture is real, and like I'm a big believer in the social movements, and like I would hate to say something that gets misconstrued as like offensive.
Dude, I mean, yes, I feel you, especially because I'm, trying to start something in the same medium with this podcast. I have a real struggle with that because
It's hard.
there are some things that there are some things that aspects about my life that I want it to be free. I want to be free and be able to speak my mind and be able to, say the things that I'm opinionated about. But the fact that I have to be really careful with everything I say is something that I haven't fully come to terms with, but I'm sure if you're a comedian, if you want to be a comedian, it's going to be one of the toughest challenges out there, especially in these times, when everybody wants to get mad about everything. I don't know. I just hope that, first of all, guys, everybody who's listening, I don't know anything about anything, okay? like
Yeah,
if
neither do I. I don't want to be an authority.
yeah, I'm just a fucking guy trying to have a freak show, and that's it. I just want people here to talk about life, to talk about shit, and not get into any trouble.
Yeah.
So where to now? I mean, like, you have this comedy dream, but you also have this very real aspect of your life that is your job. What are you thinking?
I mean,
Like, are you happy? Are you happy where you are right now?
yeah, I think I am. And I think that that's kind of sometimes a scary thing to say, especially for me, as someone who likes to set goals and aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think anybody's happy right now with the situation with coronavirus, but there's no, that's I try and not allow that to bring me down because it's something that's completely out of my control. But with the things that I have going on in my life, I mean, I always want more. I want to be achieving as much as I can all the time, but I'm content in the fact that like I'm doing things that I love. I have a great base underneath me, knock on wood, and I have no reason to, be ungrateful or upset about that. But at the same time, yeah, there are things that I would like to be doing and things I would not like to be doing that I have to do. Like I would
Like
love
what?
to I would love to like just go off and do this comedy stuff full time. But I just don't think I'm at a point in my life yet where I feel comfortable making that jump. And if I'm being realistic with myself, I don't know yet if that's fully what I want to do. Like it's something that feels very passionate and hot right now, but I still have like a lot that I need to get under my belt before I get to the point of like making that decision.
Hmm. The decision of leaving everything to become
Yes.
a comedian.
Yes. Not to like continue pursuing it. I just like dude, like I haven't been like on a real night where there's like 50 people in a room in New York City. I've done it in Wisconsin, but like if I'm going to be completely honest, you have to do it in New York to like really be considered a comedian or someone with some level of acclaim. And like I haven't gotten to that point, and it takes that point. And what I am feeling is that like I can simultaneously do the real professional work thing while chasing that as
Mm.
well. Like there hasn't been conflict with the two yet. And I guess when I get to that point of conflict, that's when I'll
Mm.
have to reassess and make a decision.
Right.
But I don't want to like I don't want to create conflict for myself if I don't need to. There's no
Yeah.
reason to.
Yeah, yeah, no. I totally agree. The only problem I see when with doing that, and I'm speaking mostly for myself because when I was before this, I was working full time as an architect. It took too much time away from me, too much, thinking power away from me. It took a lot of things. It took time to commute. It took a lot of my life to just be able to be that person, be that architect person that I grew up to become. Um,
How many years were you in architecture?
I mean, I did 5 years of school, and then I did 4 years of
Post grad, like
yeah,
working.
exactly. So it's been a while, right? It's been like 10 years since I started that journey. I wanted to pursue these two things at the same time, but there was a conflict, right? I almost
Mhm.
couldn't find myself the time to do it, or could not. Just to close on that topic, as long as you are able to, like, you're comfortable with your productivity of what your passion is, then it's totally fine if you have your other thing, right? And that is not
That's a good
making
point.
you unhappy, right?
Right.
Because one thing is, you work 8 hours to just make a living, and then that could be making you very unhappy, and you're not
Yeah.
focusing at all on your dreams. And the other side is, you focus too much on your dreams and you don't do anything at all. Have you ever thought, like, I'm just gonna just fuck it, just like drop everything? If I have to eat like tuna, I'll eat tuna. If I
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I wish, like, part of me wishes that, like, I could be that person. Like, I think those people are sick, and those are the people that wind up doing crazy things and getting crazy successful. But I'm someone that needs, like, a little bit of comfort and solid base in my life. And I've taken tremendous risks at times, but in terms of putting myself out there, nothing that like really alters my life in that much, but really attempting things that like I wouldn't have otherwise and whatever.
Mm.
But lower level things than like big life pictures. Because again, dude, like I haven't even been in the workforce for a year yet. Like just coming up on a year in July.
Right.
So I still have like a lot of time to get there. But I mean, I don't know, like catch me in 2 years after working for the man, and like we can see where I'm at about like feeling like that. But right now, like I like where I work too much. I like the people. I like relatively what I'm doing in the space that I'm in. I find it interesting, because it's still new to me, um, and I want to learn more about it. And it hasn't hindered my passions, as I've tried to like say a bunch.
Right, right, right.
So
No, and I think that's the key. And I think that's the key, that it hasn't hindered your passions. But are you passionate about? Like, here's the thing. When I hear people talk about their job, right? Sometimes it makes
mhm.
me very sad because I feel like they're telling me things that I want to hear. They're telling me the things that society wants to hear, right?
Totally.
So like in a sense, like you represent your company because you work there, and you don't want to say
100%.
anything that's
And
like that's gonna get you
I
fired or something.
no, 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 no. I totally get that. Totally get that. But I like genuinely am in the position that I'm in right now. Like, dude, I get to work not that crazy hours for a job that like I'm exposed to so much information and have everything offered to me if I want to go get it and when I want to go get it. And at the same time, it allows me to live in the city that I've dreamed about living in for my entire life, like always wanted to be in New York, even though I'm not there right now. And I get to do the stuff that I've always wanted to do. I get to take improv classes that I get to pay for myself. I get to do open mics throughout the week because I don't have to come home to mom and dad. I have no responsibilities besides myself and being a good boyfriend to my girlfriend. So like it feels like that right now for me. And like maybe that's just because I'm young and maybe that's because I don't have the experience under my belt right now.
Mm,
But I really feel so lucky and blessed to be in
yeah.
that situation. Of course, like the day-to-day working, yeah, it blows sometimes. But I don't
It's like
care if you're like,
fuck that.
fuck that. Like I don't care if you're 25 years in the field or if you're 10 like 1 month in the field. You're gonna experience that on a day-to-day, and it'd be silly to think that you're not. And
Mm.
even the people that do the things that they love and they swear by it, the people that go off and move to LA, and there are days when you're in a job that suck. It's inevitable. You have to try and find the positive things in each of those. That's I don't want to be like the expert on that type of comment, but that's what I try and do. Try and walk away feeling positive each day. Find something that good that happened that day. Find something that you're looking forward to in the next day. And the other shit is just shit. We're Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill. That's my view.
I
And
mean that's a great outlook to have because definitely positive. You have in your life, like as we described already, these two paths, right? That are basically working together, right? To
mhm,
like want to sustain you, want
sure.
to give you, the comedy to give you more. I would say a soul. I don't know.
100%. No, that's 100%. And there are things like beyond comedy, like comedy right now and performance is like paramount, but like I have other passion type things that like keep me going on that soul, who is Matt type thing. But yes, sorry to interrupt,
No, no, no.
but
That's cool. Um, what is it that you think like on a broader scope? What is it that you want to accomplish with comedy? Like if you were to, I always ask this in this way. If you were to write a book, or if you lived your life, right, and
mhm.
somebody were to write a book about your life, and I was to read it, what would you want me to get away from it? You know, like what is it that you in your life want to accomplish?
I feel like as a performer, whether it be in like stand-up comedy or if it would to be in films or if it were to be in improv, something like that, I would want like my wiki bio or my life story to be like somebody that other people wanted and got every bit of money that they paid for to see. Like I want to be like great in that sphere. I just think like I could I think it's equally shallow for me to say like I want to impart some level of happiness among society because that's like the cliche answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A
but who
lot of
gives a
this
shit
right now,
about what who gives a shit what's cliche or not? Like I don't really care. Like I just want to hear your raw, opinion and of even if it's like I just want even if you want to ride unicorns and on the
right,
rainbows.
right. Like I think the pinnacle of success for me would be being in movies and
Right.
building my character and my ability to do it professionally. That would be the measurement of success. To have like the life that I would want to have by simultaneously using this. And I'd like to be one of those comedians that's like inspiring to younger comedians as someone who went out and did it. But I don't have like some broad message because I'd be lying to say if I'm doing like anything in the realm of comedy or performance for anyone but myself. And I think a lot of performers like try and bullshit some answer that it's for the greater good of society. It is an amazing rush to get people to laugh. It is an amazing rush. But like, it's for me. This is what I love. I'm doing the things that I love. I'd love to create something that is loved by others, but it starts with me creating it. Until I get to the point where like I've reached the level of success I want to reach for myself in this space, it's hard to say what I want my broader impact to be without being like general and like not having something hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, but even if it's general or anything, I think just having, sometimes it just takes a really simple sentence to realize what makes you happy, you know? And
Right.
and if it's like, yeah, I just like to make people laugh and give them joy, that's totally a good reason enough for me. And
Yeah.
any
I mean,
reason is good enough for me, you know? I just want to know,
Yeah.
kind of like, I just want to know what makes you have fun, what drives you, you know? Because ultimately, I love to understand everything and how you're becoming, because I think also that you're going somewhere, right? And
thanks, man. I really tried to like answer, like I was talking to someone today that I was doing this, like about what this podcast is about. And I finally like got it that this is, you're talking to people and you're trying to figure out different types of people's perspective on life and how they play the game of life. And I mean, I think if you like summarize it in anything, like I'm level 1, dude. Like I'm at the beginning. Like I chose to go down this quest, but in 6 months from now, like
you don't even know.
I could be like an orc, like building shit in the woods. That's my video game knowledge. Although I did just get my first Fortnite win last week.
Dude,
that was huge.
I mean, BRs are really hard. Battle Royales is some of the hardest games I've ever played. So
what's your game right now?
Lately, dude, I mean, if you ask me what game I'm obsessed with right now, is this game called Escape from Tarkov, and it's this hyper realistic shooter. Like,
yeah.
My wife is laughing at me right now because I've told this to so many people. I like to talk about this game so much. And what I wanted to get from you is also like, what is gaming in your life to you, right? Because
you just gotta find the things that you like. Just find the things you like and you want to do.
And as long as you're having fun, like, I feel like all the rest can just go out the window, you know? Anything, as long as you are doing whatever it is that you're doing is bringing you meaning to your life and you're having fun doing it, dude, just throw everything out the window.
I've been playing a bunch of Fortnite because I have 2 younger brothers, and that's anyone who was born after 2000 plays. Honestly, like, it's lame, but I'm not that good. It's kind of seems obvious, but when you're not that good and it's not very natural to you, it's so much less fun to play games.
I agree. Like, things get much more enjoyable when you are good at it. I mean, even with improv, I bet if you're really bad, like, and nobody wants to be your partner, you know, that I bet that's not enjoyable at all, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point though, but I think there's almost this moment where, like, if you can find something that you don't care about even when you're bad, that's like true.
That's true love.
That's true love, man. Like, even when you botch a scene in improv, or if I botch an open mic, I walk away going like, oh my God, I would pay so much money to do that again.
Right.
Like, if you just, I don't feel discouraged by it.
Well, partly I think it is because you are good at it though. Like, you have like somewhat of a success, you know, that you have.
There were times where I did scenes that were not funny.
I mean, all of us, right? All of us, and even if the scenes were funny to in some level, the way that you internally experience that, you're like, I sucked at that. Like you're just so much harder on yourself. Okay.
All right.
Just I would say you're cutting off the video.
Oh, sorry. My big ass head.
big head, big brain.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what my mom used to say, and it caused a lot of self-image issues growing up. Like it's hard to be like the second grader. Like, yeah, it's cool to have a big head. I was always told that my big head was like proportional, which is like such a fuck you to someone who's like saying, yeah, you have a big ass head. Like I always was told, like, yeah, you have a big head, but it makes sense with the rest of your body. That's not a compliment.
Yeah. Man, I think I'm running out of topics, bro.
Said we hit a lot when we pressed record this time.
Do you plan on at any point releasing anything that people might want to look out for?
I think as of right now, no. I mean, I hope maybe, when this all ends and I can get back on stage, it'll continue to grow and maybe I can be back on and promote some other stuff. And
dude, I would love for you to be back whenever you want. Just hit me up, and if you ever have any kind of success, I would like to hear about it, and we'll talk about it on the show if you want.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll grab a beer when I'm back in the city.
I would love that. Anyways, bro, it's been a pleasure, and I really, really appreciate you doing this twice.
Twice.
Exactly. First Player versus Live podcast done twice. And I really, really, I'm gonna look out for you, and dude, whenever you have anything, I would love for you to let me know, and I hope we can do our last show together, and
me too, man.
maybe we'll have like maybe I could put it in a section of this podcast, like a link to if we ever do that show. That would be awesome.
Watch us do it.
Yeah,
right here.
exactly. Hey, bro, it's been a pleasure, and
Thanks, man.
I really, really hope everything works out for you, and stay safe. And I hope you had a good time, man. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you so much, and keep it up, man. This was a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.